All right, sci-fi horror fans, strap in and keep your helmets on, because we're going inside Alien, 1979, Ridley Scott's slow-burn nightmare that turned deep space into the most terrifying haunted house imaginable. From the surreal mind of H.R. Geiger to bizarre on-set mishaps, fake blood explosions, and marketing so secretive it bordered on espionage. We've got 20 weird, surprising, and sometimes downright gross facts about the movie that forever changed how we look at the stars. Fact 1. Alien was almost called Star Beast. It's hard to imagine Alien with any other title, but in the early script stages, Dan O'Bannon was calling it Star Beast. He thought it sounded cool, until he realized it didn't really fit the creeping dread he was going for. While scanning the script, the word alien jumped out at him. Short, ominous, and with a double meaning. Both the creature and the fact that everything in the movie was unfamiliar and hostile. He pitched the change, and suddenly the film had one of the most iconic single-word titles in cinema history. Fact 2. Star Wars got Alien made. Before Star Wars, studios were skittish about expensive space movies. But once George Lucas's film made a fortune in 1977, 20th Century Fox suddenly wanted more sci-fi on the roster. Alien's gritty horror script, which had been collecting dust, got fast-tracked. Ironically, where Star Wars was an upbeat space adventure, Alien was the total opposite. Grim, claustrophobic, and oozing menace. That contrast is partly why it stood out so much when it hit theaters. Fact 3. Geiger's art scared customs officials. Swiss artist H.R. Geiger created the nightmare look of the alien species. And when his concept art was shipped to the U.S., customs officials opened the package, took one look at the twisted biomechanical horrors, and thought they were photographs of mutilated bodies. They detained the shipment and questioned people before finally letting it through. Even in still images, Geiger's work was that disturbing. Fact 4. The alien is barely in the movie. One of the reasons the creature is so effective, you barely see it. In the entire runtime, the alien gets only about 4 minutes of actual screen time. And Ridley Scott didn't let the camera linger. You never get a clean, sustained look at the creature's full form. That scarcity kept audiences on edge, filling in the gaps with their own imagination, which is almost always scarier. Fact 5. The egg had a hidden cross design. The alien eggs have that unforgettable 4-petal opening, like some unholy flower blooming in the dark. But in early sketches, they only split into 2 flaps, and it looked, a little too suggestive. H.R. Geiger, always pushing boundaries but mindful of censorship, redesigned them to split into 4. This wasn't just a fix. It made the egg look ritualistic, almost sacred in a grotesque way, like it belonged in some alien church. If you look closely, those 4 folds form a perfect cross when open. Not an accident, but a deliberate, almost subliminal design choice. It's creepy because it feels like there's a meaning behind it, even if you can't quite name it. Fact 6. The egg slime was stomach lining. That thick, glistening goo coating the inside of the egg wasn't some Hollywood concoction. It was actual cow stomach lining, nicknamed Nottingham lace by butchers. The crew used it for its translucent, veiny texture that catches light in a way rubber never could. Under the hot set lights, the stomach lining would sweat and steam, adding an organic shimmer and a smell that was anything but cinematic. Cast members would wrinkle their noses and try to breathe through their mouths during takes. Still, the visual payoff was worth it. When audiences first saw Kane peer into that egg and the light glistened off those sickly folds, it looked so real because, in the most literal sense, it was. Fact 7. The facehugger used real animal parts. When the camera gets a good look at the facehugger's dissected body, the detail is grotesquely convincing. That's because inside the latex skin, the effects team packed actual sheep intestines, oysters, and other animal organs. The goal was to create textures that moved and glistened exactly like living tissue. When the prop was cut open for the shot, the way the fluids oozed out wasn't special effects. It was biology. On set, the smell was revolting, especially after hours under hot studio lights, but the authenticity was undeniable. That moment made audiences believe this was a living organism, which was exactly what Ridley Scott wanted, to erase the line between special effect and actual creature. Fact 8. The chestburster scene shocked the cast. Everyone knew something was going to happen in that scene. The script said so, but Ridley Scott deliberately kept the actors in the dark about the sheer violence of it. When the time came, John Hurt lay on the table with a chest prosthetic packed full of fake blood, guts, and the animatronic creature. On action, compressed air blasted the chest burster through the shirt, sending blood spraying across the room. Veronica Cartwright, standing right in the blast zone, got hit square in the face, stumbled backward, and fell over in shock. Her scream? Not acting. That's why the scene hit so hard, because for the cast, it was a jump scare. Fact 9. Ash's android reveal was a kitchen experiment. When Ash's head is knocked off and the crew discovers he's an android, the shot needed to look unnervingly biological, but clearly artificial. The solution was a bizarre kitchen concoction: milk for the synthetic blood, pasta and glass marbles for tubing and internal structure, and caviar for strange texture. They even added fiberglass strands to mimic sinew. Ian Holm filmed part of the scene with his head sticking up through the table, then switched to an animatronic head for shots where Ash is moving erratically. The result was something audiences had never seen before: an android that didn't look like a shiny robot, but like something disturbingly close to alive. Fact 10. The alien actor was discovered in a bar. Bolaji Badejo wasn't an actor, a stuntman, or even in the film industry. He was an art student from Nigeria, spotted by a casting agent in a London bar. At 6 feet 6 inches with impossibly long arms and legs, he fit Giger's sketches perfectly. Ridley Scott hired him on the spot and put him through movement training to make his gait slow and predatory. Badejo's build allowed the alien to look inhuman without heavy padding or bulky prosthetics. It also meant that the suit could be thin and form-fitting, making the creature's movements eerily fluid. In close-up shots, the camera would avoid showing too much, but the silhouette of that lanky figure burned itself into horror history. Fact 11. The alien's head had 900 moving parts. The alien's head wasn't just a rubber mask, it was an intricate machine. Inside were levers, pulleys, and servo motors controlling the jaws, lips, and tongue. The inner jaw mechanism was driven by springs and cables, and the tendons that pulled it back into the mouth were literally made from shredded condoms, because they had the right translucence. Even the drool was mechanical. A pump dribbled KY jelly and water through tubes into the mouth, so the alien was always dripping when the camera rolled. All of this gave the illusion of a living, breathing predator. And none of it was digital. Fact 12. Kids played the space jockey scene. The space jockey, that massive fossilized alien pilot, needed to feel enormous. Instead of building a towering set, Ridley Scott put his 2 young sons and the cinematographer's child into scaled-down spacesuits. When they walked across the cockpit, it made the space jockey seem huge by comparison. The suits were so small and airtight that the kids overheated almost immediately. Crew members had to keep pulling off helmets between takes to keep them from passing out. Still, the trick worked so well that most viewers assumed they'd built an actual gigantic set piece. Fact 13. The set almost cooked the cast. The Nostromo interiors were claustrophobic by design. Narrow corridors, low ceilings, no ventilation. Add in the blazing heat from the studio lights, and temperatures soared over 100 degrees. The actors were drenched in sweat. Between takes, crew members ran in with fans and cold towels to keep people conscious. The oppressive heat only added to the tension on screen. Everyone really did look exhausted because they were. Fact 14. Rock concert lasers lit the alien ship. That surreal blue mist inside the derelict alien ship wasn't just lighting magic, it was rock and roll tech. The Who were testing their stage lasers on the soundstage next door, and Ridley Scott borrowed them to create the alien chamber's eerie beams. Combined with dry ice fog, the lasers created visible shafts of light that looked otherworldly on film. It's a perfect example of aliens' resourcefulness, stealing a bit of rock concert flair to make sci-fi history. Fact 15. Almost no CG was used. In an age before digital effects, Alien went fully practical. The computer displays on the Nostromo weren't added later. They were programmed to run live on set, meaning the actors could interact with them in real time. This avoided the flat, obvious screen replacement look common in older films. It also meant the actors had real moving information to respond to, which helped sell the illusion that they were working a real ship. Fact 16. The space jockey wasn't full size. You'd think that colossal alien skeleton was a single, massive prop, but it was just a partial build on a rotating platform. They filmed it from different angles, making it appear like a complete set. This saved money and space, but it also meant the crew could light and dress the same piece multiple times to create the illusion of variety. The trick was so convincing that even some crew members thought there had been multiple, huge set builds. Fact 17. Fox hid the alien in marketing. When the movie came out, audiences had no idea what the alien looked like, and that was deliberate. Fox refused to put the creature in any trailers, posters, or stills. Instead, they teased the mystery with the tagline, "In space, no one can hear you scream," and a cryptic image of an egg. The result? Moviegoers walked in with no idea what kind of horror awaited them, making the reveal in theaters all the more shocking. Fact 18. The chestburster was inspired by parasites. The most infamous scene in the movie has a real-world basis. Dan O'Bannon took inspiration from a parasitic wasp that injects eggs into a host. When they hatch, the larvae eat their way out, killing the host in the process. Nature is full of horrifying examples like this, and O'Bannon thought it was the perfect metaphor for the alien life cycle: beauty in form, brutality in function. Knowing the scene's roots in reality somehow makes it even more disturbing. Fact 19. Ridley Scott used a fear reel. Before filming began, Scott gathered the cast and crew and screened a custom fear reel, a montage of intense scenes from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Jaws, and The Exorcist. It wasn't about copying these movies, but about showing the tone and pacing he wanted, long stretches of tension punctuated by bursts of shocking violence. Everyone left that room knowing exactly what Alien was supposed to feel like, and it kept the whole production locked on the same creative wavelength. Fact 20. The movie's slow start was intentional. Modern horror often goes for the jugular in the first 10 minutes, but Alien spends nearly an hour letting you live with the crew before the creature appears. Scott wanted the audience to feel comfortable, even bored, so the alien's arrival would be like a gunshot in a quiet room. It's a gamble that paid off. The slow burn made the terror hit harder and gave the film its unique, lingering sense of dread. And that's 20 strange, surprising, and sometimes stomach-turning facts about Alien. Which one creeped you out the most? Customs agents thinking Geiger's art was real crime scene photos? The chestburster's parasitic inspiration? Or maybe the fact you only ever saw the alien for 4 minutes? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this deep dive, hit like and subscribe for more behind-the-scenes secrets from cinema's most iconic nightmares.